The purpose of today's video is to show you how you can take your pre-write pages, which include the pre-write organizer that you completed with the 4 activists from the text that you've read, and then you've narrowed that down, and yesterday you should have completed a Venn diagram choosing 3 of those individuals and then thinking about what do those individuals have in common and how they fought for human rights. What were some of those similarities and differences? Because your informative explanatory essay will take kind of a compare contrast feature, and that's kind of how that's going to work. And so I'm going to walk you through really what you're going to work on today with your big graphic organizer. So those 2 things that you've completed previously is really the pre-write. You're going back to all the text, you're thinking about all the things that you've read about, and now it's time to start to get specific and look for specific quotes and supporting details that really support your thesis statement. And I'm going to show you how to flesh out your kind of the start of your body paragraphs. But again, we're not starting our writing, we're really just putting our ideas on paper. So in front of you, you should have this organizer that looks like this. You are going to leave this part right here blank. We're not going to work on our hook to our introduction. We're going to wait until we get into our paper some, and that's going to give you some ideas on how to start your paper. So the first thing you're going to go to is this brief summary here. This is going to feel a little redundant. You're going to be feeling like, well, I've already done that. But we do want to make sure that we know the sources that we're using. We know the name of the activist or that individual, and then a really quick snapshot of what change did they enact or how they stood up for human rights. So my example here, my first source that I'm going to use for my paper was Mother Jones, Fierce Fighter for Workers' Rights. And then what I have is the author's name. And then I have the activists. And I'm going to show you here in the book. So if I was using the consumable here, I would see the title. I would also see the author. And I know that Mother Jones or Mary Harris is the individual that we read about. And then I would go ahead and I would do the same thing for the next 2. So let's say I was going to, my next source was about Cesar, and then I would find the author, and so I know the activist is Cesar Chavez, and then just a quick 1-sentence overview of what they were known for, okay? And then as you turn the page, you are going to do the same thing for source 3. So again, we're focusing on 3 individuals in our writing. That is going to take you to your thesis or your controlling idea, okay? You're going to hear both of those words because when you do your writing prompt on iLearn, if you have an informative prompt, then they're going to use the word controlling idea, and that's automatically going to trigger in your mind, okay, that's my thesis statement. That's basically, I'm telling readers in a very clear, concise sentence what this paper is going to be about. So here is a sample thesis, this is mine, based on what I am choosing to write about. Yours should be somewhat different because you are going to fill in this last part here. Do not copy what I have because you may have chosen different activists. Again, this is just a sample. Mother Jones, Cesar Chavez, and Mahatma Gandhi all took a stand for human rights and enacted change by being the voice and raising awareness for those being treated unfairly. If you like these fill in the blanks, feel free to use them. If you want to write your own thesis statement and it connects with this idea here, go for it, okay? But that's what you're going to fill in there. Now we're going to start to flesh out each of our body paragraphs. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to think about your topic sentence. Every one of your body paragraphs, that first sentence is going to provide, this is what this paragraph's mainly going to be about. And so you're going to choose the first activist, and then you're going to write a topic sentence. So mine is pretty close to what I put here on this page when I have my little snapshot here. It's probably going to be something pretty similar. So if I go back to this, my topic sentence will be something like, Mother Jones fought against unfair child labor and brought awareness to the issue. Okay, so now I need to find some details that support this statement here. I just wrote the source down here again, Fierce Fighters for Workers. I know my author's last name is Pinkerton. Now, even though this says page number, I could do one of two things. If I'm using the online text, I may just put the paragraph that the quote is going to be pulled from, or I could use page number right here, okay? So here are some clues on the side here to help you understand. So notice, this is really just for my first piece of evidence. I did put two quotes, but they're really kind of connecting to the same concept. So as you look here, maybe there's facts, there's statistics, there's things that you feel like, oh, if I was a reader, this would be really important for them to understand that connect back to my topic sentence. So what I chose from paragraphs 2 and 4 were a couple quotes that talked about how many children were working in these like really horrible conditions in factories and mills, and then what some of their bodies looked like because they worked in these conditions. That helps a reader understand why Mother Jones was fighting against these unfair child labor laws, because the reader needs to know that it was pretty horrible. And so that's why I put this down here. My analysis, really, I could add what I just said, but I also want to make sure that you see that basically Mother Jones saw there was an issue, and she wondered why in the world this was happening. Why weren't the newspapers writing about this? What was going on? Now I'm ready to go on with my text evidence 2. So my first pieces of evidence support the fact that there was an issue. Now the next pieces of evidence I need to find is, again, going to connect back to my topic sentence about how was she going to bring awareness to this issue. And so I noted some things on how she decided she was going to draw national attention and what that looked like. So I noticed here I put paragraph 9, 11, and 31 is where this information comes from. So I want to make sure in my paper I talk about how she, the whole way she was going to draw national attention was that she was going to march the children to the President of the United States. And I put that in quotes because that's going to be a quote that I'm going to want to use in my paper. I put some of the dates here. So she started on July 7th, 1903 with over 300 people, men, women, and children. But by the time she got to the president 3 weeks later, there were only 3 boys remaining because it was such a difficult journey for them. And I'm not going to include all that information, but I'm just showing you here just like a little snapshot of some of the things I'm going to highlight. Because lastly, even though she got to the president and the president never actually saw her or talked to the boys, but she drew attention to the problem. And 35 years later, even though it wasn't when she was in that moment, but 35 years later after the march, the government did end up passing child labor laws. And there was a lot of people that were brought aware of this issue that hadn't been before she'd done the march. So just a reminder, this box here is going to be for those 2 quotes, those 2 pieces of evidence that is really most important for you in your writing to support your thesis and to support the topic sentence that you've written for this paragraph. And here's for you to talk about like why you've chosen that and why that information is important and how it supports. And really this shows here that even though laws weren't passed then, she brought awareness by going on this march. So I know that that's a lot of work, but I need you to understand that you are doing the majority of the work for your paper right now. That the pre-writing is helping you with this, that you are ultimately getting all your quotes and facts and things down. And once you have that completed, when it comes time to actually write our first draft, you've already have it. You're just putting it into paragraphs. So you're going to repeat the same process with your the activists that you have chosen. So you'll start with the first person, and then you will go to your second person. You'll do the same thing. You'll decide, well, what's my topic sentence going to be? So again, you're going to think about that person, the impact they made. What is that paragraph going to be mostly about? And then you're going to find the facts, the quotes, the evidence that are going to support you. So you can use your pre-write organizer. You might need to go back to the text itself, whether that's your consumable here or possibly StudySync, because you'll turn the page, okay? And again, This is for your evidence and your explanation. And then you have your third person, okay? You have a lot of room to write. You may not use all of this space, but it is there for you. You are not going to do anything with the conclusion right now. We're not going to worry so much about transitions and the flow of our sentence. The purpose of completing these parts of our organizer today are really for you to start getting those important details down on your paper, finding that text evidence, and really thinking about, well, what is my thesis statement and how can I start crafting my body paragraphs to connect to that thesis statement. I hope you have found this video helpful as you begin working on your organizer. Please remember that it is your responsibility to stay on task and to work through this. You need to manage your own time, and you are only responsible for you. You will turn in this paper to your guest teacher. Please, please, please make sure your first and last name is on the top. It would even be extra helpful if you could put which block you are in as well. That way, if by some chance a paper gets misplaced, I know which class it belongs to, as I will be learning your names quickly and entering grades as soon as I am able. So thank you so much, and please let Ms. Dalton know if you have any questions or if I can support you in any way.